In modern America, going without shoes in public is often considered unprofessional, unhygienic, and inappropriate. In reality, that's simply a psychological, social, cultural norm and not actually a physical issue. Shoes were first invented to provide protection to the feet for certain situations, and while still useful in their place, they have also caused physical problems due to their overuse in society. I'll share with you about these footwear problems and purposes, and also look at some of the legalities and realities of barefoot life in America today. In her book, Whole Body Barefoot, Katie Bowman, best-selling author of Move Your DNA, explains the impact that wearing shoes has on the rest of the body. She emphasizes that even the slightest lift at the heel can cause the entire frame to constantly adjust in order to remain in an upright position. We can see that here in the slide. She shows a picture similar to this in her book. Here is flat ground with a 90-degree angle here. Here is when heels are added. If the body is to remain straight, it goes slant. And in order to remain upright, the body has to correct and comes out of alignment several locations. Bowman also notes that this effect is magnified in children since their smaller feet lead to a steeper angle and thus more of a disruption in their natural balance. One point that Bowman makes repeatedly is that while the body is completely capable of adjusting to handle a downhill slant, it's unnatural to do so for so much time in one's life without allowing the muscles to return and strengthen in their natural positions. Many people are concerned that going barefoot may be detrimental to one's health by the additional exposure to germs, especially when children are not wearing coverings on their feet. It's of course possible for the bottom of your feet to come into contact with germs, but those germs still need an opening in the skin to actually cause a problem. Our hands are much more likely to facilitate that happening since we touch our faces, nose and mouth in particular, after coming in contact with many other surfaces. Gloves were created for a purpose, to protect our hands during certain activities. Despite the fact that we know hundreds and thousands of different viruses and bacteria are present on many surfaces that we touch on a daily basis, the average human recognizes that trying to keep the hands constantly encased in a protective covering isn't necessary, and simply clean their hands as needed. Shoes were also created to provide protection to our feet when needed, and that's simply not a necessary daily tool for many people. Also, one's feet can be cleaned far more easily than most footwear and are cleansed more often than shoes would be, thus helping to prevent further transfer of germs. According to England's National Health Service, both bacteria and viruses live much longer on the surfaces of shoes than they do on our skin. In addition to concerns about cleanliness, many people also have concerns about the legalities of going barefoot in public places. You may hear OSHA requirements cited as reasons to wear shoes to enter a business, but those aren't actually for customers. The health codes in place by OSHA are legal guidelines for employees in certain jobs, most specifically those preparing food, interacting with machinery, etc., and often also require gloves, helmets, or other pieces of protective body wear to be utilized. Even for employees, if one is allowed to wear heels, sandals, tennis shoes, or dress shoes for their job, OSHA doesn't prohibit bare feet in those situations. If a sign is displayed in a business that indicates shoes are required to be worn, that's a store policy, not a law. More than 50,000 people have liked the Facebook page Barefoot is Legal, and more than 13,000 people are members of their restricted group, supporting the advancement of this knowledge. One barefooting advocate, Sam Wise, shared this thought with me. The barefoot movement is so much more than just about feet. It's about principle and ethics, a standard that everyone deserves, body autonomy. Picture now with me two young men, equally groomed of the same ethnicity. The first is wearing a button shirt with tie, neatly fitted khaki pants, and clean bare feet. The second has a t-shirt, jeans, and tennis shoes. Would you judge one outfit to be unacceptable, whether to work, out to eat, or any other life event? Why should one be turned away at the door or refuse service? Many businesses have confirmed there are no laws requiring their customers to wear shoes, and some have even issued messages declaring that all patrons are welcome, regardless of their choice of footwear, Walmart and Chick-fil-A among them. However, despite the growing knowledge of the legality of barefooting, there are still many businesses that continue to deny patrons access or service based solely upon their choice to not wear shoes. Restaurants are mentioned in particular as a place that shoes should be worn due to the preparation of food on the premises. However, as we've already seen, OSHA only has dress codes for employees. Let's consider a hypothetical situation. Think of two young women on a first date. The first is wearing a pair of strappy heels, and the second is wearing a pair of sparkly anklets with the bottom of her foot bare. The employee preparing to seat them notices their footwear and exclaims that shoes are required, and that it's illegal to not wear shoes in a restaurant. If they've done their research, they can now explain to this employee there are actually no laws that require footwear for customers, regardless of the business. And as long as a person is not involved in food preparation, bare feet are not of concern any more than their bare hands. Another argument that is frequently mentioned when opposing going barefoot in public is the liability of a business if one of their customers gets injured while not wearing shoes. However, duty of care and contributory negligence laws protect against unlawful suits. As long as the business is not found negligent in the care of their location, there's no additional risk to them as compared to any other patron, shod or not. In fact, injuries resulting in lawsuits are far more common involving high heels or flip-flops or other sandal wear than any other choice of footwear, and yet businesses are not going to deny entrance for that personal choice. Again though, while there are no laws regulating the personal choices of customers, there can be individual store policies, and they can be enforced concerning anything not protected against by anti-discrimination laws. You may be wondering though, how do people even get to these locations with no shoes on since you're legally required to wear shoes to drive? That's actually not a true statement, since there are no laws in any of the 50 states that require footwear while driving a car. In fact, driving barefoot is logically safer than wearing any type of shoe that's either loose enough to catch in the pedals, like flip-flops and various strappy sandals, or with a high heel, since the foot may not be able to lift quickly enough to press each pedal as needed. We can see through each of these topics that many of the commonly held views on being barefoot are not rooted in either fact or law. We can also note that while useful tools for some situations, shoes are not necessary in many Americans' daily life, and certainly should not be required, especially considering the physical problems that can stem from their overuse. For many who choose to go barefoot, it all comes down to their freedom to choose. I'd like to share this quote from barefooter Kim. "For me, it has all been about feeling good and being healthy in a way that works for me." In closing, I hope that you've learned something new through this speech today, and that you may try allowing your feet a little more freedom, if you choose.